Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Krasi Attasio. We will be discussing the two upcoming eclipses. The first one, the lunar one, is taking place on 18th of September, and the second one is taking place on 2nd of October. We cannot look at them separately. They belong to each other. They form eclipse corridor, eclipse portal, eclipse gateway, whatever you like to call it. They form portal for change. Always. This is fact for the eclipses. Now, the eclipses of this year, all of them take place on the axis of Virgo Pisces. I mentioned this earlier to you, and I would just say it again. This is particularly important now for our era because Pisces as a sign, as constellation, is involved in the eclipses, and Pisces is our era. We still are in the era of Pisces. Pisces is ruling the 12th house of the zodiac. This is the era of the Christ essence. This is the era of empathy. This is the era of helping each other. This is the era of people suffering. This is era of diseases, poverty, simply because Pisces as zodiacal sign and constellation ruling the 12th house is involved. So when eclipses take place in Pisces, of course, they will have their importance for everyone on earth, for us, the human beings. So Pisces Virgo axis, the first eclipse is lunar, it is the full moon eclipse, and the second one is solar. It is formed by the conjunction of the sun and the moon. Now I will apply here the ancient Babylonian astrology. The way they were two main ways which they would apply when looking at eclipses. One was just they would be searching for the ominous phenomena. They would be certainly observing the eclipses. I mentioned to you they would have their ziggurats. This would be like temples in the middle of the high towers in the middle of the temples where they would be observing the eclipses, especially looking at their importance on the well-being of the king. And the king, let's say, if you take Sargon the Great, he was astrologer, and he would, with his team of astrologers, would be observing from the ziggurat the eclipses. They are very important. They were very important, and the ancient astrologer wouldn't be hiding and not observing the eclipses. I will tell you, the eclipses are negative phenomena. I never advise people to observe with naked eye, to look at the eclipses. This is not really very good. Well, you can try, but this is really not very advisable. Now there are, like I mentioned to you, two methods of approaching the eclipses. Of course, we will be looking simply at the astrological placements of the planets, the lunar nodes, and so this I will do. But first, I will give you the most well-known Babylonian analysis. They would be looking at the lunar month, because the lunar Babylonian month would be representing a country, and this way we know which countries will be mostly affected by the eclipses. Secondly, we're looking at the watch. We divide the day and the evening by watches. We see in which watch the eclipse takes place. This is also corresponding to certain impact of the eclipses. For example, the evening watch usually corresponds to plague or diseases. So then also we will be looking at the lunar day. because the lunar eclipses can take place on the 13th, 14th, 15th of the lunar days, and the solar eclipses can take place on the 28th, 29th, on the 30th of the lunar days. Each of the lunar dates would have specific importance. Then there is a second way of looking at the eclipses, and this second way is involving the dodecatemoria. This is a little bit more specific approach. I'm choosing to apply the first method of looking at the eclipses, which I will share with you in a moment for the two eclipses. And then, of course, so basically this is the thing. Then let me see my notes. Yes, we'll be looking at the degree, of course, which the month, lunar day, yes, the degree, the watch. So these are, and yes, the dodecatemoria. These are the most important factors. And yes, the winds, this we don't know yet. Also the darkening of the moon. We can only suggest from which part the moon and the sun will be darkened. Then this particular part would correspond to a specific country. So we know which countries will be mainly affected by the eclipse, but this we don't know. So this we may eventually discuss after the eclipse. So these are the main things. Of course, what we know from the contemporary science is the shadow of the eclipse, which parts of the world the shadow of the eclipse will be covering. And this is almost all the world. The first eclipse in particular is affecting the whole world, but to a very large degree, Europe. During the second eclipse, the Europe will not be, the shadow of the eclipse will not be passing through Europe. So this is so. Now let's look at the first eclipse, applying the Babylonian perspective. I will probably share my screen with you so that you see so that you have better idea. See, this is the horoscope of the eclipse. It is the full moon eclipse happening right in the very first degree of the sun is in the first degree of Virgo. The moon is in the first degrees of Pisces. Here I will tell you something very important. This particular first section of both signs, Virgo and Pisces, is where we have the so-called tropical point. Eclipse in the tropical point is very, very impactful for all of us. The tropical points are the points of the equinoxes, especially. Not even the solstices. Some authors would call tropical points also the solstices, but most ancient authors will call tropical points the equinoxes. So basically, the moon is in the vicinity of the spring equinox, or for, let's say, southern hemisphere, Australia, New Zealand, and so this is autumn. We are reversed, of course, and this is also involving the two tropical points of the autumn and the vernal equinoxes. This is absolutely really powerful eclipse. This is the first thing. Secondly, this eclipse on the 18th of September is taking place in the month of Ulul. The month of Ululu is has to do actually with a cat, which is corresponding to contemporary Europe, and also simply astronomically, the eclipse is the shadow of the eclipse is passing through Europe. So this is the month of Ulul. Then this is the 14th day, which again has to do with Europe. And also this eclipse, because this eclipse is taking place in the first night watch or evening watch. Like I told you, we divide the days and the nights. It's in the first, it's in the night watch, the evening watch. This is actually yes. Then this is having, this will give the prolongation, how long the eclipse will share his impact on us. And this is 3 months and 10 days. And you can imagine the eclipses are such important portals for change that always they have impact on it is even believed that the duration of the eclipse, let's say the eclipse is taking place 3 hours, can have impact on 3 years, for example. But in general, solely the watch of the eclipse is going to have impact 3 months and 10 days on us. Also, this particular evening watch is related to disease. So they will be selling us again the agenda of some diseases. I am telling you this. We will not buy in this. I hope people will not buy in this time. But still, they will be again trying with the agenda of the diseases. This is for sure. And then the 14th lunar day has to do with Elam, ancient Elam. This has to do with contemporary Iran, ladies and gentlemen. And for some reason has to do also with this big area of Russia. It means again the topic of the Russia-Ukrainian war will be on the table and somehow will be will be enhanced with these 2 eclipses. Now contemporary Elam is, yes, it is at that time this was Iran. By the way, we will see the Iran and the involvement of the Iran in the war again on the table, and this can have impact on Iran, unfortunately. Now, of course, now let's look at the astrological factors. Look at the horoscope. First of all, Jupiter, when again I will remind to you something which I always try to look at because gives me relief. When good planet participates in the eclipse, the evil will be destroyed. I quote out texts. Jupiter is watching, and Jupiter and Venus at the moment of the eclipse are forming exact trine. So they will try to sell the agenda with disease, they will try to sell the agenda with whatnot, but good planets like Jupiter and Venus forming trine are watching, and they are, even Venus is participating directly in the eclipse. You will say Mars is forming a square, but Mars is forming also sextile to the ascendant of the chart of the eclipse, which actually is not so bad. Let me also remind to you that the sign of Pisces also is about refugees. So this will have impact on the topic of the refugees, which are now like really Europe is really overwhelmed with refugees. The States maybe too, I don't know, but what I hear for Europe is so. So this is one very important topic. Of course, this is axis of business. And when you have a lunar eclipse and later on solar eclipse, which solar eclipse will take place in the, I think, which was the degree, we'll see in a moment, but the Virgo, the sign of business communication is involved, and this will be, and I told you 2 months ago when I made my video predictions, I told you the markets will be hurt tremendously. And in the beginning of the year, when I knew about the solar flares and the 11 years cycle of the sun, I knew that the gold will jump very high, and I made 2 videos on that. You can look at them. That's why we see this jump of the gold now. The gold price is now tremendous. This is exactly what I predicted. And also now you will see further impact, negative impact on the markets as a result of these eclipses. And this was very logical because Ketu is in Virgo, which is the sign exactly of this. But somehow always the helping hand of the good planets, the blessing Jupiter, Venus, they form beautiful trine, and I'm very hopeful that this will be really the helping hand for us. Now, another important fact, of course, whose horoscopes will receive the influence of these eclipses. Of course, if you have Sun or Moon in Pisces or in Virgo, of course you will feel the eclipses. Of course, these are portals for change, but don't allow yourself to fall in the fear of the matrix, because eclipses actually can be portals for awakening too, or for actually, why are we also so afraid and so negative when it comes to eclipses? It is because we are very resistant to change. If we were open, and we are not, none of us is, because this matrix is full of surprises and instability. That's why we, the human beings, are not really very much welcoming changes. Eclipses are portals for changes. So people who have Virgo ascendant, Virgo midheaven, Moon in Virgo, Sun in Virgo, same is valid for Pisces, will certainly be influenced by these eclipses. Now let's look at the second eclipse, which is happening on 2nd of October. So let's look at the second eclipse. This is the horoscope of the eclipse. Now it is happening in the 15th degrees of Virgo. Mercury is right conjoined the Moon and the Sun. These are degrees of business, communication, which are being eclipsed. This is also what will be eclipsed, the markets again. But in the meantime, Jupiter is creating a trine. He will soften these energies. The exalted Mercury is there, and I believe this is, even though Mercury is not visible, and from the visible Mercury we expect more power, but still he is exalted in Virgo. He participates in this eclipse, and I believe Mercury will somehow, yes, there will be further impact, negative impact on the markets, what we're already witnessing, but it will be furthered. During this eclipse, Jupiter is watching, indeed. He's watching by trine from the ascendant. This is very helpful. This eclipse is now also happening in the evening watch. This is again the topic of health, which will come on the table. This eclipse will involve Russia, because it is this part of the zodiac which involved Russia, Subar too, is involved. So the topic of the war will not be over, and it is happening in the month of Ulul, 29th lunar day. It is about Elam, that Iran, you will be hearing of Iran and eventual involvement, or at least attempts, I hope only attempts because of Jupiter, to involve Iran in the war. And this is also the evening watch, which has impact for 3 months and 10 days. So both eclipses together will be having impact about 4 months on us. Let's see how long the darkening, the shadow of the eclipse will take place. And this also has to do with the timing of the future impact of the eclipse. But you see, this conjunction is afflicting degrees of business, markets, communication. This also is happening in the Dodecatemoria ruled by Aquarius. Dodecatemoria ruled by Aquarius. This is interesting because we are at the door steps, at the entrance of the era of Aquarius. We already feel the influence of the era of Aquarius. So yes, this is only increasing the impact of the year of Aquarius, but this eclipse taking place in dodecatemory of Aquarius, I see as affliction a little bit, because Aquarius afflicted. I hope this is not going to have negative impact on implementation of artificial intelligence and negative factors which are against us human beings, but this is very much up to us if we allow this to take place. During these eclipses, major grand trine is formed. As you see, Mars-Venus trine, Venus, Saturn trine, Saturn-Mars trine. This is grand trine. This actually is very good. So Venus in Libra, this very moment, Saturn in Aquarius, this is actually beautiful. How I see this, as I tell you, now Libra is about beauty, design, and Venus at the moment of the eclipse will be in the vicinity of Gamma, one of the brightest stars in the constellation of the Northern Crown, where Venus is. So Venus will be, if the markets will be eclipsed, but our talents will overpower this. Like we can outshine the eclipse with talents, with love, with beauty. So this will be the power. Also Saturn will confirm, because he's the lord of karma, but he's also very conservative, very traditional. So this way, I believe the power is this, really, to not to, you see, in situations of high inflation, economy disasters, you know which people are to a lesser degree afflicted by this? These are people who have their own talents. And each one of us has talent. Depends how you approach your talent, how you develop your talent. So this is really the key during these times, to find your talent, to see what you are really very good at. And this is exactly what Venus trine sextile is all about, you see, because Libra is the sign of design, beauty, and this particular star Gamma, where Venus is the star which is about this is the star which makes people visible with their own talent, expertise. Could be expertise in beauty, creation of beauty, but could also be expertise in design, exact type of knowledge, structured financial knowledge, because Libra is also this. Don't forget, this is the hidden place of Saturn. So I see ways out of these eclipsed markets, eclipsed communication, economy, and this is it. We need to outshine the eclipsed markets with our own talents, really. And this is not just a fairy tale. I tell you, this is really the thing. And again, also with this eclipse, ladies and gentlemen, this is the solar eclipse. With the solar eclipse, mainly with the lunar eclipse, people are afflicted the most. With the solar eclipse, these are the rulers, you know. So we will see how this eclipse is, because I am planning, of course, I made one video on Donald Trump, I made one video on Kamala Harris, their horoscopes, but I will certainly make one which will be having predictive purpose, and there I will involve these eclipses to see how the eclipse is placed in their horoscopes, especially, you know, the solar one. So I hope this was useful for you. Of course, if you want to know how the eclipses are influencing your horoscope, what is the way out, you can connect with me for consultation. All the best. Don't forget, don't watch the eclipses. I have very negative memories. I know I maybe said this already 2 times for sure, when I was thinking that I shouldn't be going out and watch the sky during the eclipse, but I had to drive, and I remember already 2 times. One time my car suddenly, it was a night drive during eclipse, but I knew it, but I just had no choice, I had to drive. And I remember how suddenly in a mountain road in the forest, Suddenly my car, without any reason, lost electricity in the middle of the night with no street lights. And I was just seeing the moon being eclipsed, on my right side. And I remember this was very, very, very scary. So this was one case. Second was this year, the first eclipse in the spring. And I remember driving, and suddenly it was in the day. It was the day of the eclipse, but I was thinking, okay, I will go home before really the eclipse momentum. And then suddenly on the highway, my car lost electricity. Another car this was. It was not the same car. If it's the same car, we could say, but this is maybe the defect of this car. No, it was another car. And my car lost electricity on the highway on the day of the eclipse. So now I know not to watch the eclipses. Yes, it would be good to observe, to see from which side the moon will be darkened, but I would rather not do that. So all the best, ladies and gentlemen. Also remember not to eat or not to expose your food to the eclipse energy. All the best. Be happy. Bye bye.